Oh, got it. All right. We're on. Cool.
Hello. Um,
Oh,
it's funny what you mentioned the other day. I think we should actually, yeah, talk about how we met.
yeah.
A little
I'd
bit
love
about
to.
our stories and how we met.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I guess how we met is we met as part of a program for
Mhm.
rheumatoid arthritis for reactive or inflammatory conditions. That's actually
Yeah.
how we met. So maybe let's talk about what brought you to that program, and I'll talk about what brought me to that program.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Come here. Come here. I'm gonna have a friend, a part of the show with us here who wants to be famous. Little little Oliver wants to be a part of the production. Um, but I didn't know what the hell was going on with me. Um, Basically, long COVID triggered some kind of weird alien attack in my body that just pretty much destroyed everything. And rheumatoid arthritis was one of the things I thought it was. So, um, oh, sorry, I gotta close the door. So I was basically throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall, trying to figure out what would stick,
Hmm.
and found the Patterson program. It's not Patterson, right? It's Pattison. Is that his last name?
Patterson. Patterson.
Pattison. Yeah. So I found Clint. I don't even know how I found him, just trying to figure out what was wrong with me and thinking it was rheumatoid arthritis because I had incredible joint pain, like just awful, awful joint pain. And didn't end up being RA. But yeah, I just kind of found his program as far as like it was super supportive. That's really what I was looking for at the time was support. And
Hmm.
so he had that chat group and I was looking for inspiration and your story was on there and it was super inspiring. And I think that you are very aware of that fact that your story had inspired a lot of people within that program. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people were reaching out to you through that program. And so I had reached out to you too for support, really. Wouldn't you say that's fair to say that people were pretty inspired by your story?
It's funny because my natural Kiwi self wants to shy away, shy
Oh,
away from compliments.
is that a Kiwi thing? I didn't realize that was a
Oh,
Kiwi trait.
I guess taking I don't know whether it's a compliment or accepting ownership over something like that can be a little uncomfortable for us Kiwis.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Aussies. I know my
I guess
Aussies.
I
I
am
don't know my
aware of it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it still feels a little weird because you never imagine yourself to be like a chronic illness superhero. So,
sure,
like it's not
sure.
something that I'd ever imagined was in my gonna be in my life or in my future or yeah, and so I don't know, it still feels a bit weird
I bet. Yeah.
that I'm
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's like so important to like share. I mean, I don't want to get emotional. I just watched a movie with my dad and my brother, and it was kind of an emotional movie. I don't know if you've have you heard of The Holdovers? I don't even know if it's in New Zealand yet. It's pretty new. Like it just came out in January, but it's a really awesome movie.
Mm,
Um, but it's definitely like one of those like, all right, brace yourself for a tearjerker kind
oh,
of
right.
movie. But I feel like movies are such, I'm just feel like most movies are just crap these days. So like when you actually hit like a good movie, you're like, oh, awesome. Like
Yeah.
the writing's good. Like this is just a good movie. But it was a little sentimental, so I feel a little raw coming out of the movie, but it was really good.
Yeah.
Very worth seeing once it gets over to New Zealand.
Oh,
Um,
I'll cry rubber too.
oh yeah, it's a crier, but no, I mean just the mere fact. I mean, I was in the worst physical pain of my life
Mm,
when I was reaching out and found that Pattison program. And excruciating pain, like suicidal pain, like did not want to be in my body pain.
Yeah.
And I could hardly move. I was almost paralyzed. And so you were doing laughter yoga, and that's really how I feel like I was like, oh my gosh, this person's kind of like an angel to me, like because so much pain, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And the laughing actually gave me a little bit of respite. It gave me a little bit of relief. And I physically was in so much pain that even the thought of like moving or laughing was like the furthest thing from my mind, because I could hardly walk.
Mm.
And so I just felt like, I mean, like I said, let's not get teary-eyed.
It's fun, for that, for me.
Really, truly, for me, like you were really an angel during like the darkest of periods for me. And it's probably hard to see that from maybe another person's standpoint, because you don't know what somebody actually is internally feeling.
Mm.
And no one would really be able to look at me and be like, oh, there's something like seriously wrong with her by looking at me from the outside. But from the inside, I was in get me out of my body pain,
Yeah.
because it was just it was unbearable. So that laughter yoga was huge for me. Like I literally was like, because it was like I couldn't breathe. Like I would have to remind myself to take breaths, because I was constantly holding my breath because I was in so much pain, and I just didn't want the pain to come. So I would be like, oh,
Yeah.
like just trying to like block the pain. And then I'd be like, you have to breathe. Like, don't forget to breathe. Like that's how much pain I was in.
Yeah.
Like I was holding my breath till it ended. And yeah, that laughter yoga, I like got a little bit of relief from it.
Oh, it's
Um,
amazing, eh? Like I used it so much in my recovery, and I guess my story, I I'd recovered from chronic fatigue, which is a whole nother story. And I had a year of
mhm,
illness. I was out getting amongst it, running marathons, doing adventure races, just living the dream. Like all these things I'd wanted to do, that I'd imagined doing, that I'd visualized myself doing when I was unwell with chronic fatigue.
yeah,
And I was doing them, and it was fantastic. And then I'd had a viral infection, and the cough just kind of hung around. And I did an adventure race about 2 months after I'd come down with that infection. And that night
yeah,
I sort of had a coughing fit, and my whole torso twisted, and I subluxed my clavicle and stuff. And so from that moment, that night, I was in pain. I was in horrible pain with my torso twisting. And when something happens to your torso, you go into fight or flight, because it's protecting all your vital organs. And so from there, over the course of pretty much the next year, it spread my shoulders, my neck, my jaw, and I had this like bobbly head thing where my head just felt like it was going to fall off my shoulders.
yes, me too. Yep.
Sacrum, oh my God, sacrum pain, horrible. My knees
Mhm,
swelled up like giant potatoes, and I got to the stage as well where I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit on the toilet. I couldn't lift a cup of tea.
mhm,
I couldn't stand up. I
yep,
lost over 25% of my body weight. I was
same.
desperately crying out for help, and no one knew what was wrong, and no one was helping me. I was just getting put on
Mhm,
increasingly strong painkiller, which I'd never taken. And
right.
like you, I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live like this. I was in so
Yep.
much pain, and it was relentless. It was absolutely freaking relentless. The only peace that I got was there was a space when I woke up. If I didn't move at all, I was sort of okay. But then I knew that I was going to have to move, right? Because I needed to go to the freaking
Mhm,
toilet. I had to move,
yeah,
but it would take
right.
half an hour to kind of unravel, unkink my body in order to get to the toilet, which sometimes I had to crawl to, which was very painful on knees like that. And sometimes I didn't make it. Um,
Sure.
which I, well, haven't done that since I was a baby. Um,
Right. Unfortunately, I
it's,
can relate. Yeah.
yeah, and so I was just like screaming out to anyone that was listening to help me, help me, help me. And then I finally got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I don't believe I have rheumatoid arthritis. I think
I
it's
know, I was just gonna ask you that. I was gonna ask you that if you actually feel like in hindsight that that's what it was.
I never believed that it was. I was never going to take that label on. I didn't have a positive RA factor. I didn't have any of the anticyclic, you know, the antibodies or things like
Right.
that. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm going with reactive arthritis. And
Mm.
but the treatment was the same, right? So then I had to go on medication because I was literally about 2 weeks away from dying. I could feel my body dying. I went down to 43, 44 kilograms, which I think is around 90 pounds. I looked
Sure.
grey, I looked skeletal. I had random people would come and cuddle me in the street.
Mm.
I'd go into a pharmacy and I would get given free things. That's how
Mm.
terrible I looked. But I was like
Mm.
hobbling into the pharmacy. I thought I was, I was close to getting a wheelchair to actually going, okay,
Yeah.
I need a wheelchair. Although I wouldn't have been able to wheel myself because I couldn't
Hmm.
much.
Yeah.
Um, and I found the Patterson program. And so
Yeah.
within a month, my CRP, which is, a measure of general inflammation, went from 69 down to under 1, which is freaking
Oh,
amazing.
wow. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so from there on, I just really went from sort of strength to strength, got stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's been just over 2 years now. I've been off all medication for a year,
Yeah.
almost exactly a year, yay, woo, woo. And
Mm.
I haven't had take any painkillers basically since that month on the program. So it healed
Mhm.
gut, and so all that stuff happened. And yesterday, another milestone. You know how you sit cross-legged and then you get
Yeah.
up without using your arms?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I can
Yeah.
do that again.
Nice. That's
So
awesome.
yay, that's really, yeah. So even now, and I ran 6K yesterday.
Oh, wow. That's
And
great.
now I'm having milestone after milestone after milestone, um,
Awesome.
which is really cool, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm still
Do you
improving.
still, I was going to say, do you still eat the way the Pattison program
Yeah.
is set up? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's not for me, it's not worth the risk. It's not worth
Okay.
going and having deep fried chicken or anything. It's just not worth the risk.
Sure.
And I really love the way that I eat. I enjoy the
You
food
enjoy the
I
food.
eat. I
Yeah.
like cooking. I
Yeah.
love the fate. I just like it.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
not yeah, that's not changing anytime soon. Um,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, and so I remember you rang me up and we actually had an appointment together
Yeah. Yeah.
with my business. And then I remember
Hmm.
at the end of was at the end of that appointment or another one, I said to you, I said, look, Erin, I don't want you as a client. I want you as a friend.
Oh, so sweet. That's awesome. I
Was
love
it's
it.
like this woman can laugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I loved our laughter yoga.
And then I
Yeah.
can be silly with, and I'm like, no, man, I want him to friend. You
Yeah.
can't have too many funny friends. So
No, that's for
yeah,
sure.
so
Yeah.
that's what yeah, obviously. And then the laughter yoga. So for me, laughter yoga was an incredible part of my recovery. Um,
Mm.
there's all sorts of benefits to laughter yoga, but one of the things that it does is it really tells your body that everything is okay. And it helps
Yeah.
you to regulate your nervous system and your immune system. So every time
Yeah.
you laugh, you're like, it's like going, hey, body, it's okay. Everything's okay. Nothing weird happening here. And so
Yeah.
what it enabled me to do was I would get on my exercise bike and I would do laughter yoga class and I would exercise at the same time. And what I found is if I was laughing, I wasn't hurting. So I could do
Interesting.
all the stuff that I wasn't able to do before
Yeah.
without laughing. And then as soon as you start doing it while you're laughing, then you can do it when you're not laughing. And then the other
Hmm.
thing that I discovered with that was because my knees, were so reactive for a while, and I never realized how much I use my knees to close drawers and how much I knock into shit. And
Yeah.
obviously I couldn't do that because if I did that, then it would flare up again. And for a while, I was actually wearing mountain biking knee pads, so I didn't
Yeah.
bang them and puckaroo them.
Yeah. It's like
But what I found is if I
hit a
hit,
table.
yeah, if I hit part of my body, if I just put my hand on it, and I laughed, and I just laughed for a few minutes and like said happy laughter things, I wouldn't have a reaction. I wouldn't have a response. Things wouldn't flare up. And so for me, it was such a game changer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the powers of laughter, wellness, laughter yoga, they're just absolutely,
Yeah.
there's just so much goodness in there. And apart from the fact that laughing makes you feel happier, and for
Yeah.
me, it makes me feel more resilient. It gave me a way of dealing with pain. It
Yeah.
it connects people. You
Yeah.
get together and you just be silly
Yeah.
and laugh. It's
Right.
just freaking
Yeah.
awesome. So,
Yeah. I've been thinking about like creating like a little bit of a clothing line. And one of the t-shirts I want to create is I take laughter seriously.
yeah, yeah,
And just because like if you think of it as like medicine, like it's such a crucial thing that we need for like a really healthy body and brain and you
yeah,
know like endorphin release and all this kind of good feeling chemicals and stuff. So it's like it's not even like think of it as a job laughing, like you don't have to be
choice.
like happy. Yeah, you don't have to be happy to laugh. Think of it, I have to do my medicine of laughter,
Yeah.
even if it's fake. It starts off as fake, but then eventually you're like, oh my gosh, like I sound so ridiculous that no longer is it fake and you're really laughing. You're
Yeah.
like, I will fake laugh
Yeah.
a lot.
The body doesn't know the difference between real laughter
No.
and fake laughter. It has the same physiological impact, the same physiological changes. So even if you're
Yeah.
faking it, you still get the dopamines,
So
the
great.
oxytocin, the serotonin, the endorphins. You still get all
Mhm.
the good factors. Your muscles still
Yeah.
relax, your cortisol levels still go down. It helps to
Yeah.
regulate all sorts of things. So yeah, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be like, ha, ha,
I
ha,
actually
ha, ha,
I actually had
ha.
someone come to a laughter wellness thing, and it was back in the day where you did things face to face. I actually had
Yeah.
to come there and say, then they said to me, "Oh, I just want to be here and watch. I can't laugh." And I said, "What do you mean you can't laugh?" And they're like, "Oh, I can't laugh." And I was just like, "Okay, of course you bloody can, people. I don't know
Uh-huh.
a medical condition that means people cannot actually laugh."
So you did have somebody tell you that they weren't able to laugh?
Yeah.
Did they say why?
No, and I didn't ask because I was just like, yeah, okay, you do you. Um,
Yeah, because I guess
what
I've
I've
just
noticed
wondered
though
like
is,
trauma. I just always wonder about trauma, like laughing. Like there's been so much like shame and punishment and like raising children that like don't move, stop laughing, stop talking. Like it's hard sometimes, I think, for people to just be uninhibited and truly laugh. It's almost easier to talk about hate and anger and negative emotions than it is to be like, I'm just happy and I love to laugh.
yeah, well, it's
Like that's
it's also it's
that's
a
culture.
decision
That's
that you
hold
make
on
in a
for one sec.
split second.
That's like a culture, like culturally, it's more normal to talk about negative stuff than it is culturally acceptable to be silly and happy, and like it would be more looked at like what is wrong with her, what is she drinking, what is
Yeah,
like, versus like the person that's like pissed off, you're like, oh, that's actually kind of more societally it's like accepted, you know I don't know, at least that's what I've noticed in the States.
well,
Maybe it's different in New Zealand, who
yes,
knows,
this
but
is what I observed. It's the people that are deep, deep down, deep, deep, deep in their spiritual journey that are really taking it seriously.
taking laughing seriously.
Their spiritual journey seriously, that they're so
Okay.
deep in it. Because, we've all been there, right? We've all, well, not all of us. I don't want to make a big joke, sweeping generalization, but, there were parts of my spiritual journey that I took it quite seriously too. And maybe then I would have probably found it a little bit hard to laugh as well. Um,
Yeah.
Although I was in India for quite a bit of it, and that's where laughter yoga started. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, if people, it's almost like when you can dive so deep into your spiritual journey that you take yourself so freaking seriously sometimes,
Sure. Yeah.
and you hold your spiritual journey actually quite heavily.
Hmm. Sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, some,
Yeah, and so in my experience, the people that I've come across that can't laugh are the people that are in that part of their journey.
okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed that too. I think about how cathartic it could be, even if you start off laughing and say it switches from laugh to a cry, or if it switches from laugh to a primal scream. Like all that stuff is so good because it's the word emotion is basically emotion, so energy and motion.
Yeah.
You want it to move, like if you can create that kind of safe container to let that shit move, then you're getting it out of your cells,
Yeah.
right? You're getting it out of your system and stuff. So
And that's the
I
beauty
think
too
all of it's so important.
of the sessions too, because you could be laughing or crying. And some of the
Yeah.
time you're like, oh, am I crying or laughing? Well, I don't really know. And no
I'm
one
doing both.
really knows, but I've been to had so many classes or been to so many classes where I have been crying, tears
Yeah.
streaming down, but then I've also been laughing. And yeah, it's you, when you have that experience, you become aware of what a fine line it is. But
Yeah.
I just love it because, you just turn up and you laugh. There's no
Yeah.
talking necessarily about it. There's no uh therapizing it. There's no
Yep.
digging deep into anything. It's just this
Yep.
beautiful space that you just turn up and you laugh. And if anyone is interested in a laughter wellness, at the bottom of this video, we will put my email and people can, I run a couple of online classes a week, just 15 minutes, and you're most welcome to come. Just email me and I can send the details.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so fun.